I am Luke Titus. I'm at the Baskin native from Minto. I was really happy to be here today to share this time with you. I was, I'm an elder from Minto. This year I turned 77, so I get a lot of elder responsibilities too. And I'm going to share with you my story, my life story, and also the follow up to what happened later on in life to be a productive person in the village. I grew up at Old Minto, had no running water or no electricity in the village. Now we used to get the water from the river, and also wood was the same way. We had to use saw, hand saw. There was no chainsaws in those days, so everything we did was by hand. There was no snow machines. We had a dog team that we used, that we raised our own dogs and had to get food for them, fish in the summer. They did a lot of traveling across the tundra with dogs because the trapping that took place for livelihood of our family. There was no grocery store in the village, so we lived off the land, moose and bear, ducks, and other animals that we get off the land. There was no such thing as hamburger and hot dogs for me when I was a little boy. Same with candy and gum. There was none of that stuff when I was small. Only first time I remember we got candy was from had a trader that lived a couple miles below Old Minto. And he had a place, store. We would go there and he would give us, we thought it was candy and we didn't know, and it was licorice. And I remember it was black, it was hard, it was unlike any candy I ever tasted, but he called it candy. And also they said the gum that he had was called blackjack. It was a gum, like a regular chewing gum, but it was just piece of, almost piece of leather that we chewed on. And we thought it was something that was, to nowadays we call chewing gum or bubble gum. So I grew up with, like, we didn't have toys. We didn't have anything to play with. We had to make our own idea of playing. We did a lot of games with string, just a regular string, and we learned how to do that. A lot of attention was given to us survival. We had to, at a small age, we had to learn how to survive in the cold weather. We had our clothing, not like the winter clothing we have today, but when I was small, we had clothing out of fur or moose hide clothing, and mittens, fur hat. And we had mucklucks that kept us warm. The thing about it is that we learned very early to cope with the minus 50, minus 60 degrees weather. We had to walk to school, so as children we would stop along the way and we look at each other's cheek or nose and check the skin. If your skin is turning white, it's a danger sign that you already have frostbite. So we looked out very closely for each other in extremely cold weather and how we take care of each other. I say this because these are things that helped me later on in life when I left the village. How to apply those things that we learn how to survive in cold weather, for instance, and how to use different things. We learn how to use knife, for instance, at a small age. We cherish the tools that we have and take care of it. And then as we grew up, our stories began to come to us in form of advice from people in the village. Everybody in the village knew each other. If I met somebody on the street, on a trail, and that person wanted to say something to me, he would have his cane. If it was an elder person, he would put out his cane and he put it on my shoulder. I knew from that experience that this elder wanted to say something to me. And they would say something like give you advice about what they think I should know or learn. So the advice from the elders was very valuable to me growing up. Then when I was began to spend more time in school, my uncle took me in, and my mother gave me to my uncle, and I stayed at his house with him. I think I was about 9, 10 years old when that happened. So my uncle kind of took over the bringing me up, and he would talk to me every day, and he would make me do chores. He'd make me do a lot of work, and I had to go make sure that my grandpa and my grandma had enough wood and water at their house. If they did not have enough water in their water barrel, I had to go and fill it up for them. They didn't tell me because I learned that I had to take care of them. If they didn't have enough wood, I would cut wood by handsaw for them and to make sure that they were doing okay. I say this because this was very important to me later on when I left home, being able to take those things that I learned and apply it in different environment. So when I was 13 years old, I was sent off to boarding school. I was left home. Never been out of the village before. And when I left, it was quite an experience for me. Everything was new to me when I left the village. Got into Fairbanks, a big airport, and I realized that there was a lot of noise in the city. And the lights was another thing. You don't have lights like that in the village. And going to the dormitory, it was in Wrangell that we went to boarding school. And it was quite an experience for me. That the transition was awesome. It was just, I can't explain the change that we went through. And then when we got to boarding school, it was a different environment. It was different. I didn't know that those people even thought about, nowadays they call it assimilation of native language, native culture. That took place right at 13 years old. And the way that they tried to stop us from speaking our language and singing our native songs, um, it was phenomenal for us as children. And then some smaller kids were 5, 6 years old. It was just terrible that when we go to bed at night, you were on a different wing, and you could hear those little kids crying at night. And I couldn't get over it. I just couldn't see how people would treat each other like that. So we went through this change that happened to us. And first time I went to the dining hall, I couldn't eat that food. I never eat those food before, never. So it was really difficult for me, and having to get reprimanded or punished for not eating my food on my tray, because I never eat it before. And then forced to take part in those kind of things. And it was just something that happened to me in school. And one of the traumatic experiences I had was being caught in our language and singing native song, and I didn't realize what was involved in that. And I was just so happy to share with my friends that they got a care packet from home, and they wanted to share with us some fish and meat and crackers, and we're just having a good time during the holiday. Then we started singing native song. That was when the matron got a hold of us and told us that, and they didn't say anything to us, but we knew what was in store. But the punishment that I received at that time was really something I never expected. And it just really, I tell this story because I want my people to know that they don't have to go through those kind of things anymore. You don't have to suffer for speaking your language or singing your native song. But when it happened to me, I just kept it inside. I went through the punishment, and it just really traumatic. I'm just really thankful today that I was able to walk away from that experience still alive. They tried to stop us. They really wanted us to live another way. I went away from that experience and I thought to myself, the heck with this. If it's just like this in my life right now, why speak my language? Why sing native song? I walked away and I told myself, well, I don't want to do that anymore. And after 6 years in boarding school, when I got out of high school, I went to drinking. A lot of us went to that. Those of us that went to boarding school, a lot of us turned to drinking and drugs. We tried to forget what happened. And when I got home to my village, my parents would talk in our language, and I would, I knew what they were saying. I understood my language. And they were talking to each other. And they were saying, what happened to our boy? We sent him away to school and he come back and he's different. He's not the same anymore. What did they do to him? What happened? I heard every word they were saying. And in my mind and my heart, I told myself, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to say anything to you. I didn't blame them for that. They sent us away to school to get an education. And we did learn. I got a high school diploma. But also the tragic experiences we had, and to cope with that, and it was for something that I wanted to share with my people. 1985, I was a pretty sick man. I always remember that day, April 5, 1985. A friend came to my hotel room in Anchorage, and he was really surprised when he found me. It was, there was just blood all over. Took me and put me in a car and took me to the hospital in Anchorage. And that's, I went to see the doctor. And he told me, he said you could do two things, and he said that I could quit drinking, I'll live longer. And he just flat out told me, he said, Luke, you're just killing yourself with alcohol. Lord knows how long you're going to live, he told me. And I told him, Doc, I want to quit drinking. I got up off my chair. I stand up, got off my chair, walk out of doctor's office, never to think of drink again. I want you people to know that you can have life, and you can have life more abundantly than you ever thought. I went home, I didn't have nothing. Nothing to speak of. That's the way the higher power works. I began to go to Alcoholics Anonymous, went into treatment, began to get my life together. And I just wanted to say that one of the biggest help I had, there was no treatment programs in the village at that time. So I went to treatment in Anchorage, outpatient treatment. Alcoholics Anonymous was one of the biggest help that I received out there in the village. They have an 800 number you could call. And I just want to speak to my friends and say that if you have a problem, you can get help. I was sitting down, I was drinking coffee, and I was traveling from Minto to the city, and my mind began to work. I thought about my plan, what I would do when I was got out of the village, I just stopped myself and I told myself that's not going to work. So I call Alcoholics Anonymous from Minto, from my village. And I tell them I'm traveling, I'm thinking about taking a drink, I'm leaving the home. And the guy talked to me, he said he was going to meet me in the airport in Fairbanks. And he did, he took care of me. I tell him when I get my per diem check, I usually cash it and I hit for the bar. He said, you don't have to do that, you just, I'll go with you, he told me. He left me off at the airport in Fairbanks, and he said, are you okay? And I looked at him and said, no. There's a bar right up on top of the stairs before I get on the plane. He said, wait for me, he said, I'll go up there with you. So he went up the airline ticket with me. When I was getting on the plane, he said, are you okay? You'll be okay in Anchorage? I looked at him again and I said, I don't think so. There's a bar right down the hallway when I get off the plane. He gave me a number. He said, here, call this number when you get to Anchorage. And there was another guy there helped me. And that was one of the phenomenal things about being sober, that these people help each other to attain sobriety and to keep on working with each other. That was a big step for me. For those of you that are having problems, I was standing by the hotel door and I was getting ready to go eat supper. There was a native guy there. He come over to me. He say, what you doing? I said, well, I'm getting ready to go out to eat supper. He tell me, can I go with you? I said, sure. And we went to the restaurant. He said, you know, Luke, he said, I'm glad I met you. He said, I really thought about taking a drink. I lost my wife, I lost everything. He said, you were there. I said, you know, I feel the same way. I said, we found each other. It was 30 years sobriety for both of us. So there's friends out there who are in the same boat, who feel the same way. And there's a couple things that happened after that. I got married, have 5 children. My wife is from Arizona, and we raised all our children in Alaska. And the thing about that is my wife never did take a drink. She doesn't. I used to unload on her and tell her my problems, struggling. And I realized later on that she don't know what I'm talking about. She doesn't know what kind of struggles I'm facing with sobriety. So I stopped doing that. I stopped picking on her. And she's been very instrumental in understanding what I was going through. And she was really helpful to me with my sobriety. And the other thing was that during the time that everything was working out, I began to think about working with other people. I began to work with others that need help. So I went back to school, and somehow I got into counseling. And I didn't know, but the state of Alaska started a program. and I had enough credit to get a Counselor 1 certification with the state. So I got that. And I work in a treatment program, old mental recovery camp. And they told me I could get the Counselor 2. And I did get that. I worked for it. I had to work for it. They're not going to just hand you certification like that. You got to work for it. For you young people that think about going on to school, if you want to get an engineering degree, you know, you can do it. And I realized all these things, the opportunities that we have. And BLM put me to work while I was going to school. And my boss told me you'll always have a job every time you come back to Alaska. And I worked for BLM on a surveying crew, surveying native allotments. That was, to me, that was a good job. I liked that. I was good in math, and it was something that I really enjoyed doing. I also received went to school and seminary. 3 years, became one day. Father told me, he said, you can't do service, you're not reading too good. And kind of, I didn't say anything, but kind of made me feel bad when he said that. So in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, well, Father, I'll show you one of these days. I went through seminary, finished 3 years, and came to Alaska and took what they call canonical exam for priesthood. And the person that was in charge of the examining board, he came to me and said, Luke, he said, we have good news for you. You passed all your exams and you're ready to be ordained in Holy Order of Priests. So I worked as a priest in my village for almost 30 years. You know, I say these things because I really felt that our young people need some kind of motivation. Never say you can't do nothing. You can't do it because you don't even try. You have to get out, roll up your sleeve, and go to work on whatever you're faced with, you young people. And I really am thankful for the opportunity now that has come before me. I like to close with something that on a positive note. And, remember I told you about assimilation of native language, native culture. And after I sobered up, had an experience, and I've always struggled with native language, native culture. I always struggled with identity as a native person. It's out there. You just have to roll up your sleeve again and face those things. My children call me and say they get racial remarks from fellow workers. And I tell them, well, that's it. Don't pay attention to them. Just do your job, do what they sent you there to do. Don't let those kind of things bother you. So one day there was, my family was out of the house, and you know, I said I didn't have anything. I didn't have nothing. Um, 1985, they built some houses in Minto. My wife and I got a new 3-bedroom home with running water, electricity. You know, I just can't get over it. Just so awesome. Just and all it, you know, I got a new truck. I went to work and I began to save my money. I got a new truck. And it's just really something how these things began to come back. And then I was in the workshop in Anchorage, and this old man was up there, native man, and he was talking his language. And he said, those of you that want to learn your language, sit on this side. Those of you know your language, sit on this side. So I sat on the side that I needed them to pray with it. I didn't even think about it. I just went away from that workshop and went home. I was sitting in the living room, and I was drinking coffee. My wife was working. I was the only one home. And all of a sudden this thing come to me, like, E-ho, 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 E-ho. I had to stop myself. Hey, I'm singing native. I'm singing my native tongue. I just look around because I want to make damn sure nobody was around and punish me. It was so awesome, and I just really overwhelmed by what that. And I thought to myself, hey, I'm singing my native language. Nobody's stopping me. And I look up on the shelf. My dad just passed away not too long that time. He left his native drum. So I started drumming with that song. To this day, I always think that the other day I went to a meeting. They wrote a big word on a meeting pamphlet, resiliency. I had to look that one up and see what it meant. Something good on the inside coming out. Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that day I was getting punished for saying my native language. And during that punishment, I told myself, you're never gonna touch that what's inside me. I don't care how much you punish me. You'll never touch that. That time, it came out, that resiliency, the good part came out, began to sing and dance. Began to lead sing groups. And, right now we're attending a workshop in revitalization of native language, native culture. And I've been able to share my story with other natives. There's a lot of people that went to boarding school that never had that opportunity. I lost a lot of friends through suicide. I lost a lot of friends in alcohol, drugs. And now I try as much as I can to share this story with other people, that you have the opportunity to go out there and to make better life for yourself. And I thank you for your time. I thank you for being able to share with you, and may God bless all of you. Thank you.